Nathan Thompson, flat Earth extraordinaire, if you want to call him that, used to be the owner, admin, mod, whatever, of the largest flat Earth group on the internet. It had 400,000 members, a little over that. Luckily, Facebook finally deleted it a little bit ago. He has started a new one, but that was like his livelihood, was running that Facebook group and selling his merchandise. Let's see what the new one's up to. Up to 2.5 thousand members. That's quite a downgrade from the 400-something thousand he used to have. So he's been spending more time on YouTube trying to spread the idea that the flat Earth is real and that actually all of us globe Earthers are just ignorant pigs and that we really need to learn the truth about reality. So let's see what he has to say. This video is entitled Most Common Fallacies Globe Earthers Use All the Time. So let's see what he has to say, and I'll explain throughout why the examples he's using aren't actually examples of these fallacies. Most likely. Again, I haven't seen this video yet, but I assume it'll be interesting coming from Nathan.
Oh, won't be long. Covering about 15, maybe more fallacies that globe earthers use constantly because they don't have any empirical observation or scientific evidence to support the heliocentric model.
Again, I feel silly pointing this out, but Nathan, we have pictures from outer space, and no, they're not all photoshopped and not all faked. They might be composite images, but that doesn't make them fake. Thank you, Tucker White, with 20 bits. How many of those 400,000 Facebook members were just trolls like you? I have no idea. That's a good question. I really don't know. I didn't spend a lot of time on that Facebook group.
The first one I want to cover is called a fallacy. Now, just because something's a fallacy doesn't make it not true. And I want to...
So, this entire video is pointless then? Cool.
I cover that while I go through some of these, that just because it's a fallacy doesn't make it not true, but it's a fallacy and it's also not true. So
basically what I think he's trying to say is your argument can be fallacious, but that doesn't mean the greater point that you are trying to make is automatically untrue just because you made a bad argument, which is true. Like, if I make a bad argument about the Earth being round, for instance, that doesn't mean the Earth being round is automatically untrue. It just means I'm doing a bad job making an argument in favor of it, which it happens, considering I'm not a scientist. I'm not anyone who has an authority on these things. I just try and do my best to explain why the things flat earthers say are fallacious, and why their premises themselves are untrue, not just that they're being fallacious in their arguments. So, I don't know. It's a fair point, but also it doesn't mean you shouldn't point out when someone's argument is fallacious, because if their argument is fallacious, it means they're doing a bad job supporting their argument, and if they can't support their argument, it is pointing in the direction of their argument itself being based on false premises.
So the first one is the fallacy, and then we coined another one, which is the fallacy, which the Globers will use in debates sometimes because they just rattle off so many fallacies that they'll just say fallacy, as if you communicating that they're using fallacies is some sort of assertion that they're right about everything. So they'll do that sometimes. So I just want you to know there is a fallacy called the fallacy. And just because something's a...
Did they make that up, or is that a thing? Let's take a look. Fallacy. Argument from fallacy is a formal fallacy of analyzing an argument and inferring that since it contains a fallacy, conclusion must be false. Okay, so it's just called the argument from fallacy, more typically. Interesting. Okay. This is word salad, Tucker White 94 says. I don't think it is, because I understand what he's saying. He's not being incoherent yet. Guys, I don't think he's being incoherent yet.
Fallacy doesn't make it untrue. But for example, like the first fallacy I'll get into that Globers use all the time is called a straw man fallacy. One of the most common ones I hear is, where is the edge? Show me the edge. Now, we don't claim to know where the edge is, just like you don't claim to know where the edge of space is. So both of us could straw man an argument, and I'd say, show me the edge of space, which is ever expanding. Well, if it's expanding, then it has to be expanding from a border or a limit or an edge.
I don't necessarily think that's... Oh, boy. Again, I'm not a physicist, which is why it's bad to talk about this. Whenever you get into internet arguments with flat earthers, it's usually between an idiot like Nathan Thompson and then an idiot like me, who, well, I recognize that science is real because I'm not stupid and I understand basic concepts. I'm not a physicist who can get into the nitty-gritty of actually explaining why something is or is not true, outside of just the obvious, like, hey, as far as we know from science, this is or is not true, right? From what I understand, in terms of the expansion, it's not completely accurate to say that it's expanding into something, considering the thing that is expanding itself is space-time. I don't know what that means. I cannot explain to you what that means, but nonetheless, that's how it's been explained to me in the past. So I don't necessarily think what Nathan is saying here is true.
So, show me that edge. They can't do it. So we could both straw man an argument there.
Also, I don't think that argument relates to flat Earth, considering you're claiming that the cosmology of the universe is as such that the Earth is a flat plane. So the answer, if I say, where's the edge? That's not a fallacy necessarily. It's not necessarily a straw man. It's me asking a genuine question about the model that you are proposing about the shape of the Earth. And then if your reaction to that is, oh, we don't necessarily think there is an edge, we think it goes on forever, I think that's an unfounded answer without, like, evidence to back it up. But nonetheless, at least it's an answer to the question. Asking questions you don't like the way they're phrased isn't necessarily a fallacy. With 20 bits, Antipodian Squid. Hot take, that's not at all hot. When discussing the shape of the Earth, the edge of the universe is irrelevant. Agree. I agree. Nonetheless, it's going to come up when you're talking to these people.
Straw man fallacy, that argument goes both ways. Second one is an ad hom fallacy. They use this all the time. Trust me. Trust me. It's where you attack the person making the argument. You don't actually attack the argument.
This happens a lot when we're talking about flat Earth people. I try to stay away from it, at least to an extent. I do these videos for entertainment, not necessarily educational purposes. Just because if you're watching this stream or watching this video on YouTube, I assume that you already understand that people like Nathan Thompson are wrong, and that we understand that the Earth is round, that it is not flat, and that we've been to space, stuff like that. So this is more for entertainment purposes, kind of peeking in on people like this and seeing why they believe the things they do and what they're saying about the things they believe. So occasionally it'll slip into making fun of Nathan, but that's not an ad hom, right? You can point out things about someone that you're talking about that are negative about them as an individual. Like, I can talk about the fact that, you know, Nathan Thompson got arrested for harassing children at a school playground, and that has nothing to do with whether or not the Earth is flat or not. It's just an interesting thing to know about the guy we're talking about. A real thing that happened, by the way, if this is your first Tinfoil Tuesday. He went up to kids on a playground at school, and it was like, hey guys, come and get flyers from me. Do you know the Earth is, you know, the school's lying to you? Do you know? And he got arrested. He's kind of crazy. But again, none of that, and as much as it might speak to the character of Nathan Thompson as a wackadoo, it doesn't mean his argument is inherently wrong. His argument is wrong for entirely separate reasons.
So you say, oh, Nathan, what you're saying is stupid.
Memory Leak, thank you for subscribing with a 4-month streak.
Because you get arrested for yelling at kids. Or, Nathan, you're homeless and you live in your car, so what you're saying is not true.
No. Those are interesting things to know about you, Nathan, but you are wrong for entirely different reasons that are divorced from the material facts about your life. Although they are interesting facts.
Or, Nathan, you're a mooch and you live off flat earthers, so what you're saying isn't true. So those are called ad hominem attacks.
Of course, by the way, if you have flat earth on your bingo card, knock that one off. Do I not have flat earth this time? That's a shame. He doesn't know what ad hom is. Also, what he's doing here is a straw man argument. I don't know. I'm sure there are people like hold on, let me knock this off. Where is flat earth buoyancy on here? There we go. I've definitely seen people, because I watch a lot of people who like debunk flat Earth stuff for fun, and a lot of them, who I'm not going to name here because what would the point be? I don't like how angry and rude some of them get about Nathan. Nathan is an entertaining person, and he's certainly wrong about the things he espouses, but I find videos that do nothing but like take 20 minutes and they'll just like make fun of him or call him like ugly or like again making fun of the homeless thing, which by the way I don't think you should ever do. Nathan's like a messed up individual in that he's very wrong and he's holding on to beliefs that are untrue, but anyone who's going to spend time like making fun of him for being homeless is an asshole. Like, Nathan is probably not mentally all there if he's this deep into flat Earth. So to make fun of him for not being able to support himself, considering the kind of mentality he has, is pretty disgusting, and it's not something I'm going to involve myself with. But I see other people do that, and I find that kind of thing pretty rude. That, however, doesn't mean his arguments are true just because people are being rude to him. They are completely separate concepts.
They'll also say things like, don't reproduce, or you should go back to school. Just know right away, when someone does that, it's not a good argument for the globe. That's a fallacious argument called...
They're probably not trying to prove anything to you, Nathan. They're just trying to be mean, for the record.
Ad hominem.
It's not a fallacious argument if they're not making an argument. They're not making an argument, they're just yelling rude things at you. Things that are probably informed by the fact that, yes, you probably could have stood to, pay a little more attention in school. But nonetheless, they're just trying to get under your skin. That's not an argument. They're not in a debate.
Another one that's is called a genetic fallacy. That's where you automatically assume something is untrue just because of the source. Globers do this all the time. They'll say, oh, you saw it on YouTube, so it's not true.
Flat Earthers do the same thing, though, except they'll do it in a stupider direction. For instance, they'll say things like, oh, where do you get that info from? NASA? They assume places like NASA or actual scientists are inherently in on some sort of conspiracy, so they take expert opinions, research that's been done by actual PhDs in their field of expertise talking about space, and they will disregard them specifically because they come from organizations like NASA or from someone who's actually gone to school to learn the truth of how the world works. So I don't think this is a one-way street, although I think there's a difference between a genetic fallacy and recognizing that someone's information is coming from a place of profound ignorance, right? There is a difference between getting your information from a PhD-level scholar who has published a paper in a renowned journal that is peer-reviewed and someone on YouTube like Mark Sargent who poops out 20-minute videos with complete nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong, I've gone through all of Mark Sargent's videos, like the flat Earth clues that he did, although honestly I should probably go through them again just because that was a long time ago and I don't have it all cut up separately for the channel. But nonetheless, like, it's not fallacious, I don't think, to recognize the difference in scrutiny being put towards someone on YouTube with absolutely no education on a subject and someone who's an expert in a field applying their expertise to a topic, right? Like if I'm walking down the street and I'm on my way to the hospital and I'm about to get an operation, like let's say I'm going to get bottom surgery, which is something I plan on doing in the future because I'm trans, and I'm walking down the street and a homeless guy yells at me, hey, and I get in a conversation with them. I give them a couple bucks and I'm like, oh, I'm on my way to get bottom surgery, and they go like, you know what you should do for that bottom surgery? The aliens that come and talk to me every night, you should just stay here with me, and then they'll change your DNA, so you don't even need bottom surgery. You'll just grow a vagoo. It wouldn't be fallacious of me to recognize that the doctor who's gone to medical school to perform surgery on me probably knows a better way to do it than the homeless guy sitting in the gutter talking about aliens, right? That's not a genetic fallacy. It's recognizing that authority is placed upon people with education on certain topics, whereas a novice or someone who knows nothing about a topic, their words shouldn't carry as much weight because they don't have expertise to back up the claims they are making. That's not a genetic fallacy. It's recognizing the strength of people's arguments based on their expertise. Let's see, what did I miss? Damn it, Roach, thanks for following. Vault48, thank you for following. Assassin of Narwhals, thank you for following. Phosphophyllite, thank you for gifting a sub to Comrade Devin. And Stello Gaming, thank you for following.
Well, all the universities put their videos on YouTube. You can learn how to repair your car. You can learn how to cook almost about anything. Gordon Ramsay puts things on YouTube.
Right, and Gordon Ramsay is a world-renowned chef. He's a 3-star Michelin chef. So he has expertise to back up the claims he is making, whereas someone like Mark Sargent or Nathan Thompson does not.
Is he not a legitimate 3-star Michelin chef? Because he's on...
Right, but you're talking about his credentials. That's what makes him legit. You're pointing out that he has credentials in the field he's talking about. You, Nathan, don't have those credentials. Neither does Mark Sargent or any of the other people who talk about flat Earth.
YouTube? Okay, so the genetic fallacy.
Every fallacy Nathan listed can be easily applied to him too. I agree. Like, fallacies are fallacies for a reason. It's not because only one specific group uses them. Everyone who makes arguments, including myself, can be prone to fallacious arguments. It's part of arguing as a human being. We all fall into these same traps now and again. But it's just funny coming from Nathan, considering that so much of Flat Earth is built on fallacious argumentation because the very foundation of their belief system is false. They basically have to use fallacies in order to bolster their argument, or make it appear that their argument has been bolstered. Has bingo already ended? No, it has not. We are still on it.
See, that's what that is. Oh, you saw it on YouTube, so it's not true. Also, you could have an appeal to authority fallacy.
Antipodian Squid, that's the point, Nathan. Anyone can put anything on YouTube. It doesn't have to be backed with evidence. Therefore, YouTube is not a legitimate source. It's the same with books. Anyone can publish a book without real evidence backing it. A book isn't a credible source like peer-reviewed journal is. Again, I would argue it depends completely on the sources cited within the book, the expertise of the author, stuff like that. Like a book, again, let's just go back to Gordon Ramsay. A book written by Gordon Ramsay, not necessarily just a cookbook with recipes, but a book actually explaining, like, the philosophy behind his cooking, how he decides how to do things, whatever. That would hold some authority in the field of cooking, although cooking isn't really a science, you know what I mean? It's more of like an art. But I'll still use it as an example. That cookbook probably is better advice than something I could write, someone who barely knows how to boil water, you know? Catalina Gearbox with 20 bits. Someone demonstrates a poor understanding of philosophy, Eastern religion. Are fallacies considered part of philosophy? Probably. Argumentation is, I guess, probably part of... Okay, fine. I'll count that. Poor understanding. Where is it?
Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it. More importantly,
Yes, I understand culinary science is a thing, guys, and I know chemistry is involved, but you know what I mean when I say cooking. You know what I mean, god damn it. Stop being fucking pedantic.
we need to share the video, because that's how we change things, is getting the information out there. So if you're enjoying it, you like it, share the video. That's what's most important. We have an appeal to authority fallacy, which is, oh, well, my cousin is a pilot, so the Earth is a globe.
That's not an appeal to authority, that's just an anecdote. An appeal to authority would be like... An appeal to authority would be saying, the king has proclaimed the earth is round, therefore it's round. That's an appeal to authority. They're an authority, therefore they must be right. I think Nathan's probably going to apply this incorrectly to experts and say, like, well, round earthers just always defer to scientists and NASA. Correct, but it's not because they're an authority. It's because they literally are experts in their field and study for years and years and years, and every day apply that study to the study of space and the Earth, right? It's not that just because they are an authority, it's because they are experts in their field. It's because they study and cite their research that you can go and look up yourself, and you, in fact, could go and study and become one yourself. It's not about a title of authority. It's about expertise, and these things are different. That's very important.
Funny about the tools
The Shadow Witch, thank you for subscribing with a 2-month streak at Antipodian Squid with 20 bits. A great example of an appeal to authority is we don't need to fear COVID-19. President Trump said so. Yeah. Appeal to authority fallacy. Agree.
Not true. I have an uncle who's a pilot, and he refuses to debate me on my YouTube channel.
Hey, Carl, how's your nephew doing? Oh, God. Oh, God. He has a YouTube channel where he just talks about the Earth being flat, and he wants to debate me. Ah!
Because the Earth is not a globe, and pilots are trained on what's called the Target Generation Facility.
He got fact-checked on this, by the way, relatively recently. God, I need to go find the video where he got fact-checked on this. I forget who did it. But basically, someone called up the facility who has this thing and talked about this because he thinks that this Target Generation Facility has, like, a flight simulator that's, like, a flat Earth simulator. And someone called this facility and asked about this, and they were like, wait, what? No, what is he talking about? God, I gotta find the source on that.
It's the flat Earth simulation and non-rotating Earth that negates a gravity vector that they train all pilots and air traffic controllers on. So, don't talk to me about your pilots.
No, all pilots in the world, or even in the US, are not sent to this facility to train on this simulator. I don't know where he gets this idea. It's complete bullshit, in case you need to know.
Don't talk to me about your appeal to authority fallacy. Have you tested anything yourself, Globehead? The answer is no. A red herring. So, a red herring will seem plausible or reasonable, but it's ultimately irrelevant. So, they do this all the time. Red herring argument could be, for example, explain to me plate tectonics. Or explain to me, what's the other one I had the example of? Global warming. Those could be examples of red herring arguments where, red herring, global warming is legitimate. Why don't we talk about it? Oh, well, plate tectonics, that's legitimate. Why don't we talk about it?
I mean, it would be relevant because our understanding of plate tectonics is pretty intrinsically linked to the shape of the Earth because they're plates that make up the various parts of the crust of the Earth that we understand to be a globe, which shift over time, causing both things like earthquakes and land formations and like all sorts of crazy stuff. And also it leads to, over time, the shift of like land masses when we had, a long time ago Pangea, and things continue to move just very slowly over a geological time period. Like, this is relevant to the conversation, Nathan. If you believe the Earth goes on forever as an infinite plane, and the area we call the Earth is just, basically that top-down projection, that's the UN map that you guys always go to, and that we're surrounded by an ice wall, how does plate tectonics work if the Earth goes on forever? Are there just more plates? Do you not believe plate tectonics exist? If plate tectonics don't exist, then where do earthquakes come from? Why do we know that the land masses have shifted over long periods of time? These are questions that are relevant to your model, and if you can't answer them, it means you don't have a model, which you don't. That's not a red herring. That's not a red herring at all. Global warming, again, while we do understand that global warming is real, I agree that I don't necessarily understand the relevance to flat Earth outside of the fact that I'm not sure what you guys think about the atmosphere, because global warming, of course, involves the atmosphere and releasing CO2 and stuff into it, thus creating a greenhouse effect where it's a thicker blanket that heat and stuff can't disperse from as easily. Again, I don't know what flat earthers think of the atmosphere, though, but that would be something that would be relevant in a discussion that we're having, right? That's an observed fact of global warming would need to be explained on a flat Earth model just as it is explained in a round Earth model. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words today. I'm sorry. Apologize.
No. The argument
This entire video is a giant red herring. Yeah.
was there is no curve to the surface of the Earth. The argument was the Earth's not rotating. The argument was that we live in a closed container. Why are you talking about plates, which are flat tectonics, or
They're not flat. They're round like the Earth.
talking about global warming, which presupposes a globe and then presupposes that we're warming up?
Okay, Nathan, but you understand that the concept of global warming is that our environment is warming up due to the release of certain chemicals into the air, right? Which we understand is because of a greenhouse effect. We understand this within the globe model. So if your model is that of a flat Earth, and I don't know what your thoughts are on the atmosphere, you would need to explain the effect that is observed on your model. That is something that you would need to contend with. That is not a red herring whatsoever.
So those are all begging the question, fellas.
If the Earth is domed, where does the heat go? Yeah, that's... Oh, yeah, they do think there's a dome. I forgot. They think that there's a firmament. So I don't know. I'm not sure what they think.
These also,
Flat tectonics is the new name for my modern jazz trio. That's pretty good.
which I'll get to in a minute. Next, you could have an appeal to emotion fallacy. Appeal to emotion is anytime they don't have an actual...
Did I watch the video of Tate beating a woman? What?
Funny about the tools of
No, I didn't even know that existed. Tucker White 94, 20 bets. Here's an example of a red herring. Class. We've had tons of people literally circumnavigate the globe. We can see the Earth from space. Nathan was arrested once for harassing school children, and we can measure the roundness of the Earth. Yeah.
argument or scientific experiment, empirical observation, and they just tell you they're right because otherwise it would make them feel bad, or it would make someone else feel bad. Now
I've never heard anyone make the argument that the Earth has to be round, otherwise it'll hurt my feelings. This is not a thing that happens.
can't say that the Challenger didn't explode because all those families that had relatives on the Challenger cried.
Oh, I see what he's doing. Okay. I understand what he's saying now. Nathan, in those instances, you could say it's a fallacy if someone was trying to say, oh, the Earth is round because the Challenger thing happened. But more what I'm thinking is happening there is it's not an argument they're having, they're just calling you an asshole. And let me be clear, you're wrong about the shape of the Earth, Nathan. You're very wrong about the shape of the Earth, and all your arguments are absolutely terrible. We've discussed them many times on this channel before. But on top of you being wrong, and we've made plenty of arguments before, let me just be clear. When you go on about your conspiracy nonsense about the Challenger not actually exploding and killing all those poor people, you're an asshole. You're a huge asshole. Just like people who deny Sandy Hook happened are assholes. Just like people who deny the Boston bombing happened are assholes. Just like 9/11 deniers are assholes and Holocaust deniers. You're all fucking assholes. Now let me be clear though. You being an asshole has no bearing on how wrong you are. They're completely separate entities. You are an asshole and you're wrong. I can say both of these things and not have it be a fallacy, okay? You are a monster, but you're also wrong. There's a period in between these sentences. Tucker White 94. Wait, Nathan denies that the space shuttle Challenger exploded? Yeah, a lot of flat earthers do. There's even a meme image macro, another straw man by Nathan. There's an image macro where they think these people are still alive and living, a different life somewhere, and they have images of different people who are not the people who died in the Challenger explosion. It's really, really sick. Misattribution of coincidence, post hoc ergo propter hoc. Misattribution of coincidence in what way? What do you mean? You can't just say things on the bingo card and expect me to know what you mean. You gotta explain what you think was that space on the bingo card. Shadow Witch with 20 bits. It's like a loaded language, aka appeal to emotion, like when right-wingers use words like gulag and communism to evoke a reaction. Sure. I cannot watch the video of Tate beating a woman on Twitch for obvious reasons. I might take a look at it later, but we can't watch it on here. That's TOS. Anyway.
For a very long time. Oh, well. if they cried for a very long time, well, then I guess it really happened how they say it did. Don Hill said, when are you getting out Facebook channel? In like 25 days. So, yep. Next one. This is a big one with the Globers, guys. Appeal to popularity or a bandwagon fallacy.
Just a plank. Thanks for following.
So we've known for hundreds of years the Earth is a globe, so it must be a globe.
No, that's not the argument, Nathan. It's not just because a lot of people believe it. It's because it strains credulity to say that the claim has been that the Earth is round for, and not hundreds of years, Nathan, you got that wrong. It's thousands of years. And that no one has come forward and effectively disproven that claim. Because there are plenty of experiments and observations that show the Earth is round, right? I'm sure you've heard of the old observation experiment that was done, I think it was in ancient Greece, where they had the wells in the two towns, and they, by virtue of figuring out when the sun was directly above one well, so they could see entirely to the bottom, and the other well, they could determine, like, the circumference of the Earth, and they were relatively close considering the rudimentary nature of the experiment. Not only that experiment, but the hundreds and hundreds of different experiments that have come since, and not to mention, once again, we've been into space, and we have photos from space, we have video from space, we have live streams from space right now, Nathan, that you can go and look at 24 hours a day, okay? It's not about everyone already believing a thing, therefore you should believe it. Nathan, you know, for instance, I'm non-religious, okay? It's not like saying, the largest religious group on the planet are Christians, therefore Christianity is true. Not the same thing. What I am saying when we're talking about stuff like the shape of the Earth is, it's been already experimentally proven, and so far, no one has come forward and effectively disproved that. So, until such a time as someone does, it makes sense to understand that in this case, that's probably the truth. If you can disprove it, Nathan, go for it, but you've tried many times and you've never effectively been able to, so.
No.
Appeal to popularity is something like Justin Bieber is good because Baby was once the most watched video on YouTube. Sure, that would be an example.
It's a bandwagon. Or my dad, guys, the first time I told my parents the Earth was flat, my dad used a bandwagon fallacy. First, he said, well, Nathan, look at Google Maps, you're wrong. And then second, he said, Nathan, take a poll of everyone. Just classic bandwagon fallacy. Well, if everyone says the Earth's a globe, then it's a globe. No, sir. No, not 25 years. If I said 25 years, I meant 25 days. It's going to feel like 25 years. I miss you guys. What else we got here? Begging the question fallacy. They do this all the time. Now, the number one begging the question fallacy I hear that flat earthers struggle with is, if the Earth is flat, explain the southern star rotation. You're begging the question there, okay? You're assuming that the south has a different star rotation than the north, but if you...
Because it does. Because it does? Because the star, you see different stars in the southern hemisphere than you do in the northern hemisphere, Nathan. You see different stars. That's an observable fact.
You get on your Googers and look it up, or Yahoo, whatever you want to use, all stars move east to west. The sun and the moon move east to west, and that does not change in the southern hemisphere. So what you're seeing, Globehead, is apparent, not actual, which means you're seeing it, but it's not really happening in reality. The stars on both models move east to west, right? Because you're moving one direction on a globe, or they move east to west because they're moving one direction on a flat Earth, okay? Affirmative consequent fallacy. Now, affirmative consequent is if P, then Q. P happens, so it must be Q. Causing.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
No, it's not word salad. Guys, word salad is like chili juice. He is not word salading yet. Someone really wants word salad on their bingo card.
A good example could be, in the morning, the rooster crows and the sun comes up. So the sun coming up is
Just saying things that are wrong is not word salad. It has to be completely incomprehensible gobbledygook that means nothing. Him just being wrong is not inherently word salad.
caused an effect of the rooster crowing. Now, obviously, everyone knows the sun doesn't come up because roosters crow, because the second your rooster dies, you don't have an argument for the sun coming up. The sun will still come up when your rooster dies. So affirming the consequent is if P then Q,
nothing
P
funny
happens, so
about the
Q.
tools of
We see
capitalism.
the sun come up after the rooster crows, so it must be the rooster
Tucker White, no Nathan, that's the plot to Rock-a-Doodle.
crowing causing the sun come up. Now, one way that they will use this is the sticks and shadows with Aristophanes. They'll say, well, if we live on a ball and the sun is parallel sun rays 93 million miles away from the earth, then we would have different shadows at different longitudes. Now, we do have different shadows at different longitudes, but your faith-based science assumes distance.
That's not how science works. Where is that's not how science... There we go. Mark off that's not how science works. Your faith-based science. That's not how that works.
Sun assumes
There's nothing
parallel
funny
sun
about the
rays,
tools of
so you
capitalism.
cannot use
This step has 1,000 eyes with 50 bits. Gotta go to class to pretend our big band is functioning remotely. Thanks for the fun.
faith-based
Hope it goes well, thanks. Do I have that? Hold on. Doesn't understand how science works. There we go.
science to say that that is the cause, because correlation is not causation. Now, this
It's not about correlation and causation, Nathan. It's about them making a prediction that would be true on a globe Earth, and then carrying out an experiment to test whether or not their hypothesis of the observation would carry through. Their hypothesis is, hey, if the Earth is a globe, this would happen. Let me do the thing to test if that happens. Oh, it happened?
There's
We
nothing
must live
funny
on a
about the tools
globe.
of capitalism.
That's not the same thing as the rooster thing you just said. It's them putting forward a hypothesis, testing it, and not falsifying the hypothesis that they've put forward. In fact, it found it to carry through exactly as they thought it would. In what way is that putting the cart before the horse? Shadow Witch. Faith-based. Did Craig fight the flat earth, not pound this into your head? Not a religion. Stop projecting. It's so weird, too, because Nathan's religious. It's weird to me when religious people try and denigrate a concept by calling it religious. Science isn't religious, but if it were, why would Nathan, a very religious man, denigrate the concept of religion? Seems very strange.
works very simply with a small localized light above a flat and stationary Earth. Now, if you have a small localized light and you put two different sticks and shadows into the ground above this small localized light right here, these two sticks will have different shadows. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this. I mean, this is nothing new. I've got videos with 100,000 views on my YouTube channel.
Not lately, you don't. Let's take a look at Nathan's. This isn't a fallacy, by the way. I just want to point out that that's a funny statement. Let's see, this video got 1,000 views. These all got a little over 1,000. 1,000. 2,000, 1,000, 2,000, 1,000, 2,000, 1,000, almost 3,000. Ooh.
Talking about this. So if you don't know about it, it's called affirming the consequent fallacy. Now you know. Also, personal incredulity. The number one I hear for personal incredulity, guys, is why would they lie to me? Well, what is the reason for them lying to me? Why would they steal $52 million a day and put me into a false reality, a fake paradigm, a matrix that says I evolved from monkeys and the universe came from nothing and there is no God and you're an infinitesimal, insignificant speck of dust?
Who took the time to make this photoshopped image of the ape with the mask and the gloves? It's kind of amazing.
On a blue marble in space. If you can't see that, I'm sorry, you don't have eyes to see. You need to adjust the aperture in your eyes so you can let in some more light, let in some more information, bring in some more knowledge, and retain some more wisdom.
Nathan, do you not see how you've committed, like, multiple fallacies by presupposing that this is all some matrix? That's what you said, matrix. By presupposing this, like, matrix where all understood scientific concepts are not in fact scientific concepts as we understand them, but are entirely put into place to control you. Like, that involves multiple fallacies. A lot of that is so much presupposition. So much of it is just assuming the worst for absolutely no evidenced reason. You can't do that.
Now, these are a couple I made
Didn't answer the question, Nathan.
up myself, guys. The Snoop Dogg fallacy, where they'll say, you're not high enough to see the Earth curve.
Sure, I'll say that counts as the Matrix thing, because we never get to use it. It almost never comes up. Do we have that on the board? Not understanding the Matrix as a metaphor for being trans? Right on. Where's my bingo card?
Okay, no, Snoop, okay? You don't have to get high to do science or observe the Earth curve. We've been
It makes it funner, though. Fun fact.
hearing since we were in 3rd grade, boats disappear over the Earth curve from the beach.
Because they do. And Nathan is going to point out, like, oh, if you use, like, a Nikon P whatever and you zoom in, you can bring it back into focus. Under certain conditions, yeah, a lot of that's due to refraction. But if you continue to watch it, it will once again go over the horizon. And again, Nathan, why would a boat disappear bottom up in the first place if it wasn't going over the horizon? You gotta explain that. You could use a telescope even, Nathan. You use something with a really, really long, like, what would you call that? With a they can see really far away and you can watch it go over the horizon. It's an observable fact, and I understand that, like, it annoys me that the laws of physics are in such a way that it causes it to come back into a focus due to refraction sometimes, because it gives these people ammunition. But at the end of the day, it's not the laws of physics' fault that these people are stupid. So, you gotta live with what you got, I guess. The Matrix would be better suited for Chud Bingo. True.
We falsified the radius of the heliocentric model with the black swan. Also, when we first started hearing about flat Earth, everyone was going out with their P900s and P1000s now and filming boats not disappearing bottom first. They go out of your field of view. They disappear due to angular resolution limit. The atmosphere is most dense near the surface. It's inhomogeneous and anisotropic, so it's constantly moving around and
I have a feeling if someone asked Nathan what those words mean, he wouldn't be able to define them. Now, let me be clear. I can't either. But I really don't think Nathan can.
it's different in all directions. It's not static.
Yeah, I'll count that as word salad. That's fine. Word salad. Ooh, I'm one away. I'm gonna get bingo. Will this be the first time I win bingo? That'd be nice. Word salad.
It's dynamic. We live in a closed dynamic system. So the horizon, how far you can see, the clarity of distant objects, all changes hour to hour and day to day because globers have hijacked perspective and atmospheric conditions, atmospheric magnification, refraction, miraging, and they said all of that is the curve of the Earth. Anything else that you see is just distortion and will make it look flat.
Jousters end with 20 bits. Here's some ad biddies for you, Hannah. You look very flashy in that tinfoil. Thank you.
They'll say when it's distorted, it'll look flat, but when it's clear, oh, well, that's the Earth curve. No.
What's Planet X Nibiru? It's basically there's some conspiracies.
funny
It's
about
not
the
as
tools
common
of
anymore,
capitalism.
but there are some conspiracies that basically think there's an extra planet in the solar system that's very far away that we can't really detect, that sometimes does stuff or has aliens or other stuff, and it's called Planet X or Nibiru. Sorry for missing the bits message initially, by the way.
We see way too far. So when it's distorted, that's obviously not Earth curve. And when it's clear, we see way too far, we live on a flat stationary Earth. Second one is the Ron Jeremy fallacy. You'll ask them, show me things sticking
Did you just say Ron Jeremy fallacy? Ron Jeremy's a porn star. Why is there a fallacy named after him?
to other things. Or show me water sticking to a spinning ball. And they'll say, well, we don't have one that's big enough.
Yeah, because you're misunderstanding, Nathan. Water doesn't just stick to any spinning ball. It sticks to the Earth because the Earth has a really, really, really high mass relative to the things we see on the Earth, I should say. Which, of course, makes sense because things on something are going to have a lower mass than the thing itself. The Earth is huge. The Earth is huge compared to us human beings and the objects we deal with on a day-to-day basis, you know? I can't just pick up a ball. I don't think I have a ball around me. I can't just pick up a ball and pour water on it and expect it to stick because the ball doesn't exert a large enough gravitational force because it's not massive enough. The Earth is. If you want to see a ball holding water to it, go out to a lake. Go out to the ocean. You're standing on one. Like, I cannot stress enough, Nathan. You are on a planet that, through observation, you can prove that gravity exists because it's a force that's being exerted on all of us all the time, and it's not density, Nathan, no matter how often you claim it's density, because density is not a vector. Density and buoyancy, rather, I should say buoyancy is not a vector, right? The vector that causes, like, it to go down towards the center of the Earth is gravity, because gravity attracts objects to each other, the Earth being the most massive object around us, therefore everything appears to fall towards the center of its mass. Buoyancy itself, and a lot of these flat Earth people will be like, oh, there's no gravity, it's all buoyancy. Things are falling because they're being pushed around by the immense pressure of the atmosphere above us. That doesn't make sense, though, without gravity, because if it were just buoyancy and there was no such thing as gravity, why would it fall down? Why wouldn't it fall left or right or up? It wouldn't make any sense. There would be no pressure. There would be no, how do I put this? There would be no pressure being exerted in any given direction without gravity. Tucker White 94, hydrostatic equilibrium, how water sticks to a ball like Earth. I don't know anything about hydrostatic equilibrium.
Okay, well, too bad. That's a Ron Jeremy fallacy. I don't want to hear it. They'll also say that, oh, you can't see the bottom of buildings in the distance, or you can't see the bottom of boats, right? Well,
Which is true. You can look across, let's see. Okay, so let's say you look at Chicago across Lake Michigan, right? The bottom of the buildings and, of course, the shore and everything are cut off because you're looking through it, or you're looking towards it, and it's behind the horizon because it's far enough away that, in fact, it does cut off the bottoms of these things, though you can still see the tops of the buildings because, you know, they're higher. They have higher elevation, and it can breach the horizon. Now, I know there's at least one time that atmospheric conditions were perfect enough that you could see more of it, though the bottom still was cut off, just not as much of it. But, like, yeah, this is basically what happens. Stuff gets cut off by the horizon because there's a curve. There's absolutely no getting around this.
well, that's a bottom-up
Gravity is literally just massive objects bending space-time. Yeah, I know.
fallacy. Things disappear bottom first on a flat Earth too. They will not disappear sideways. They don't disappear top down. On a flat Earth, because the atmosphere is most dense near the surface, also, lines of perspective, guys, are converging to your eyes. So the surface of...
But that's not what happens when we're talking about lines of convergence. Think about train tracks and how they get further away. Let's say you're standing on the middle of a train track, which you shouldn't do. That's unsafe. But let's say you're standing in the middle of a train track and you look, and it's like a very, very straight away. It's a straightaway, so you can keep going. Things appear to get like closer and closer and closer and closer together until they sort of like meet at some sort of center at the horizon, but they don't disappear from the bottom. They just seem to get closer and closer and further away and smaller. That's not the same as disappearing from the bottom up.
the Earth is...
Combat tech support with 20 bits. I'd like to point out that Nathan started the video by explaining the argument from fallacy, yet the entire video is just him doing that fallacy. Yes, I'm aware of the irony of the situation.
Converging upwards, the surface of what's above you is converging downwards, but there's nothing above you to block the things in the distance, but there's things below you that can block things in the distance.
What? That if we were on a flat Earth, that is absolutely not how perspective works. What are you talking about?
Such as topography, atmosphere...
Flat Earthers don't understand the third dimension. There's a lot of things Flat Earthers don't understand.
Buildings, all sorts of things. So, to assert that any bottom-up disappearance is Earth curve is a bottom-up fallacy because that's how things disappear on the flat Earth also.
Bottom-up fallacy is not a fallacy. That's not a fallacy. He's just pointing out an argument that is against his worldview and calling it a fallacy because it shows that he's full of shit.
And then you have the hat trick fallacy, guys.
Is this just gibberish now? Please tell me it's not just... Yeah. Don't worry, we're almost done.
Just thought of
a little under 3 minutes left.
This one probably today or yesterday because I'm getting ready for a debate with Aaron Raw tomorrow night on Modern Day Debate.
Oh, God.
Please be there in the chat, light it up. Love to see tons of support. But hat trick fallacy is show me your model. Okay? Now everyone knows a hat trick's when you
we got word salad.
You get 3 points or 3 goals in a hockey game. Hat trick fallacy is when you get 3 fallacies all wrapped into one argument. You have the straw man. We never claimed to have a model, so don't ask me for a model. 2, we have a begging.
That's an interesting... Don't ask me for a model. We don't even have one. That's an admission that you don't know what you're talking about. Do you realize that? 74 Quinn 74. I have to see Aaron Raw debate Nathan. It already happened. This video's from 4 days ago, so it probably exists out on Modern Day Debates. Though frankly, I don't think you should support Modern Day Debates. They're terrible. But you know, I can't control what you do. Do what you want.
Question fallacy. You assume we have a model. Never claim to have a model, then you ask us for a model, begging the question fallacy. The third one is a reification fallacy. You think concepts are real, and you try and attribute physical proof or physical properties to concepts. Now, any model you could produce, be it physical or software or whatever, is going to be a concept. It's not an empirical observation, and it's not a scientific experiment. So why are you not asking...
Why are Modern Day Debates terrible? I did a debate a while back, which I really shouldn't have, because I'm aware of how bad they are. But their community is one of the most toxic communities, like, on the internet, I'm telling you. And I went on to do a debate about abortion, and it had nothing to do with trans issues. Nonetheless, the chat was nothing but transphobia and ad hom attacks at the way I look. And their policy is basically we're not gonna take that stuff down. Mods were in on it. Like, mods were literally making fun of the way I looked, and it was just like their policy that they don't do anything about that. Why would I participate in debates on a channel that's gonna let people treat, you know, the debaters like that? It's ridiculous.
There's nothing funny about the tools
Shadow Witch with 20 bits. I watched the review with Raw and Team. I used to like MDD, but James just sucks as a mod. Yeah, he's awful. Dr. Gamble with 20 bits. So this video is just him being butthurt over his debate with Aaron Raw. No, he hadn't done the debate yet when this video came out.
For empirical observations and scientific experiments, why are you hat tricking?
Oh, and then like the next day on Modern Day Debates, they had another debate and they changed their policy, and their policy then became because, you know, they do the super chats where they'll read them out. It was the most ridiculous policy, and their policy became, okay, guys, if you have insulting things to say about our debaters, we're not going to read them on super chats unless you give us a minimum of $5. So they just weaponized people's disdain for some of the commenters into making more money by charging them more to read them out loud. It was real bad.
Fallacy with a model. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow night for my debate with R and Raw. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, like, share, and please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nathan Thompson. And I'll be on Modern Day Debate tomorrow night. And if you have any questions or you need to order Flat Earth Fly.
Also, I don't like Modern Day Debates for a number of reasons. They had on 9/11 they had a debate set up between, you know, a reasonable person and then the debate and a 9/11 truther, and the debate was like, was 9/11 an inside job? Like, I swear, they're like 6 months away from just having a Holocaust denier on and then trying to have them have a debate about that. And they platform flat earthers and stuff, and I just find that so gross. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm really, really not a fan of modern day debates.
Flyers, you can hit me up at feflyers.com or flatearthflyers@gmail.com. We've got 2 flyers currently, science right here and biblical right here. So, if you need these, let me know, flatearthflyers@gmail.com or go to feflyers.com. And if you're just tuning in, go back to the very beginning because we crushed about 15 to 20 fallacies Globers use all the time. You're going to want to know these fallacies. You're going to want to be able to point them out because fallacies make meaningful discussion impossible. So if you want to have a meeting...
Hoo boy, Nathan. That's all I got to say. Hoo boy.